In Peru, demonstrations against Boluarte's government carry on amidst continued police repression as Congress debates the holding of early elections in 2023. In the United Kingdom, thousands of teachers and workers go on strike, demanding higher wages to cope with cost of living crisis. And Pope Francis continues his tour of African countries. This Wednesday, the Supreme Pontiff met with victims of armed violence in the east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Peru, different sectors continue to mobilize against Dina Boluarte's government. Meanwhile, the Congress continues without reaching a consensus to hold early elections. This Wednesday, citizens from North and East Lima started mobilizations through the main avenues to the historical center of the capital. On the other hand, in Huacayo, demonstrators blocked all access to the main markets of the city, where they will remain for some hours demanding the president's resignation and the closing of Congress. Also in Abancay Avenue, the National Police used non-lethal ammunition to force them to leave the area. Also in Peru, trade union organizations affiliated to the National General Confederation of Labor denounced the criminalization of social protests and social organizations in the context of demonstrations against President Dina Boluarte. The largest union in the country stated that more than 60 Peruvians have already lost their lives due to criminal repression, especially in the southern regions, while the government prepares the militarization of these regions. In a message issued during the National Day of Protest of the National Assembly of the Peoples, the Central Union points out that the crisis was caused by what they qualify as the civil military business dictatorship of Boluarte and his Prime Minister Alberto Otarola. The Ecuadorian Parliamentary Commission investigating alleged corruption in the country's public companies meets on Wednesday at the headquarters of the National Assembly. During the meeting, the Commission will gather legal criteria that will contribute to the auditing process and to establish political responsibilities. It is estimated that President Guillermo Lasso will be summoned for the next meeting on February 13th. Prior to the meeting, lawyer Hector Venegas warned that in order to confront corruption, the approach with which the subject is treated must be changed. Venegas also indicated that it is necessary to reinforce mechanisms that prevent corruption and to create programs that analyze the existing risk in public offices. The National Electoral Council of Ecuador assured on Wednesday everything is ready for the regional elections and the referendum that will take place in this nation on February 5th. After two simulations, the authorities affirmed that the computer systems are prepared for the day as well as the members of the polling stations, which will take about 6 hours to count the votes. The agency will disseminate the results in real time through 3 channels: web page, mobile applications, and social media. 23 prefects and vice prefects, 221 mayors, over 800 urban and over 400 rural councillors, as well as 4,109 members of the parish councils will be defined. Ecuadorians will also elect the 7 members of the Council of Citizen Participation and Social Control and will respond to the questions of the referendum proposed by Lasso's government, which has been rejected by several sectors, among them indigenous peoples, teachers, and students. On Tuesday, the President of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, and the Vice President of the nation, Rosario Murillo, headed an official act in Managua in which they delivered 150 Russian-made buses to the fleets of urban transport vehicles of the country. The act was attended by different presidents of bus cooperatives in Managua, as well as from departments such as Chinandega, León, and Tipitapa, in addition to different carriers from different parts of the country. The President pointed out that the vehicles will be distributed among different departments and municipalities. Ortega emphasized that cooperation on buses between his government and Russia has been materialized since 2009. In Argentina, the inquiry on Nicolás Gabriel Carrizo, arrested for his alleged involvement in the assassination attempt against Vice President Cristina Fernández, continues. Federal Prosecutor's Office said the investigation on Carrizo, alleged accomplice in the attempted assassination of the vice president, will continue this week after the discovery of incriminating messages in his cell phone. The messages were compiled by technical experts with the Attorney General's office. Authorities say before an extension on the inquiry is granted, the judge has to address the latest recusal motion introduced by Cristina Fernandez's attorneys. The Caribbean community is accepting until Monday, February 6, those interested in participating in the contest to define the logo for the bloc's health centering. The initiative aims to raise awareness and sensitize the region's nationals on the role, importance, and achievements in the development of an integration agenda for the celebration that will take place on July 4th, according to the rules disclosed. The logo must be in line with the slogan, 50 years of strength, a solid foundation on which to build. The winner will receive a cash prize of $1,500 and the logo will be used on all official documentation and promotional items for the 50th anniversary. Guyana's Minister of Agriculture, Zulfikar Mustafa, said that most of the preliminary work on the long-awaited Guyana-Barbados food terminal is almost complete and that construction will soon begin. Mustafa indicated that the technicians are on the grounds and making progress on the project. They identified the area visited and changed some issues in the plan for the construction of the site will start as soon as possible. The Guyanese minister added that when the site is completed, it will be able to store more than 40 containers of food and it will also be equipped with a processing and packaging plant. The food terminal is a direct result of the Guyana-Barbados and Barnabas Accord, which was signed by President of Guyana, Mohamed Irfan Ali, and Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley. Its main agenda is to replace 25% of food imports throughout the region by 2025. Let us now take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Three Haitian Americans and a Colombian will appear on Wednesday before a U.S. federal court in Miami after being accused of participating in the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse in 2021. The U.S. Department of Justice indicated the accused are James Solages, Joseph Vincent, Christian Sanan, and Colombian citizen German Alejandro Rivera Garcia. The subjects are accused of conspiracy and, according to the court, of participating in crimes that culminated in the assassination of the Haitian president, as well as attempting to carry out a kidnapping. The suspects, who were extradited to the U.S. on Tuesday, joined 3 others who were arrested last year. In the meantime, Haitian authorities have arrested 40 suspects, but without achieving concrete results. Thousands of teachers and workers went on strike in the United Kingdom on Wednesday, calling for higher wages in the largest walkout in over a decade. Europe is battling a cost of living crisis, and the latest strikes came a day after more than 1 million took to the streets in France, upping pressure on the French government on repression reforms plans. Britain's umbrella labor organization, the trade unions of Congress, called it the biggest day of strike action since 2011. Teachers and train drivers were among the latest groups to act, as well as border force brokers at UK air and seaports. The UK has witnessed months of strikes by tens of thousands of workers, including postal staff, lawyers, nurses, and employees in the retail sector, demanding fair wages and better working conditions.
Schools haven't been funded adequately now for over a decade, since austerity onwards. The amount of money per pupil has gone down. Consequently, schools are beginning to find it difficult to provide the materials and the provisions that we need to teach our children adequately. And secondly, teachers have had below inflation pay rises pretty much consistently again since the Conservative Party came in and brought in austerity.
So I felt I had to come out not only on strike but also to demonstrate today, because real-time wages for my colleagues and myself and for so many other public sector workers in the UK have fallen by almost 25% in the last 5 years. In fact, what's happening is that people are having to make choices about whether to travel 2 hours to work or to save the fare in order to be able to eat that day.
More than 500 day laborers have been evicted from the largest settlement of seasonal migrant workers in southern Spain without housing alternatives for them. Our teleSUR correspondent in Spain, Sergio Rodrigo, with the details.
The day laborers of the so-called European orchard sleep under the plastic covers of the El Gualili settlement, which has been dismantled after 15 years. Abdullah, one of the more than 500 day laborers forcibly evicted, slept here.
We have been here for 2 years, here in Walili, but now they are telling us to go away, that we all have to go abroad. I don't know where I will live, where I'm going to go. There's no job, there's nothing now. I just have to get out of here. And where am I going to go?
According to social groups, the eviction ordered by the municipality of Níjar has not provided a housing alternative for these day laborers who come to Almería to pick the fruits and vegetables that feed all Europe.
The people who are here are immigrants who are working in the fields. It is a field that not only feeds Spain but feeds all of Europe, and that is something we want to denounce. We want Europe to see that there is still slavery within the European Union.
In the absence of a housing stock, local authorities have set up prefabricated modules to accommodate those who request them. However, only about 60 out of the hundreds evicted have made their request.
It is clear that around May 30 or May-June, they will be out of work, and then they can move freely to wherever is most convenient for them. That's on the one hand. On the other, they understand that here they have no means of transportation to go to the greenhouse where they work. The agricultural companies told us on Tuesday that they had told them that they were not going to pick them up here.
In Almería, there are more than 90 settlements where more than 3,000 people live, mostly workers from the so-called European orchard, who don't have access to decent housing, either because of their administrative situation or because landlords refuse to rent to them.
Sergio Rodrigo y Lucía Muñoz, teleSUR, España.
In Italy, according to an Interior Ministry report, almost 5,000 irregular immigrants disembarked last January, the highest number in 1 month since 2016. That's 60% more if compared to the same period last year. Italy's Institute for International Political Studies said this past January that 527 migrants rescued in the Mediterranean Sea by boats operated by humanitarian organizations arrived at Italian ports, while most of them disembarked independently. Current government actions to try to stem the migratory flow are focused on limiting rescue activities by humanitarian vessels. On January 5th, European Union spokeswoman Anita Hipper questioned a December decree which restricted the work of these organizations by stating that saving people in danger at sea is a moral obligation and a legal duty. We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the South. On Wednesday, Pope Francis met in the Democratic Republic of the Congo with the victims of the armed conflict in the region and listened to their stories along with other religious leaders. In the capital city, Kinshasa, the victims spoke of violence and abuse, and Pope Francis offered his blessings during the ceremony and delivered a speech denouncing the brutal atrocities committed. The hope for peace was echoed by many worshippers in a country in conflict for nearly 30 years. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is a deeply impoverished Central African state as well as the continent's largest Catholic nation. According to estimates, about 40% of the population of some 100 million is Catholic.
I was 16 years old at the time. and was held as a sex slave and abused for 3 months. Every day, 5 to 10 men abused each of us. They made us eat the maize paste and the flesh of the killed men.
We want the evil that has been perpetrated in return to stop, to be punished and repaired. We want to live in dignity as sons and daughters and gods.
After meeting victims of violence, Pope Francis denounces brutal atrocities in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo and asks forgiveness.
I humbly bow my head, and with pain in my heart, I ask His forgiveness for men's violence against men. Father, have mercy on us, console the victims and those who suffer, convert the hearts of those who commit brutal atrocities.
Fuel prices in Cameroon is around 15% higher as from Wednesday, following renewed pressure by the International Monetary Fund for fuel subsidies to be cut. The price of petrol and diesel at pumps rose by 15.4% and 25.2% on February 1st, while fuel sold to industries will be fixed to nearly $1 per liter. The government said in a statement that the move was announced after discussions on how to balance the books in a global context of rising fuel prices. Parallel measures were announced to ease the impact, including a 5.2% increase in civil servant wages and a cap on the cost of lamp oil and household gas. The IMF on Monday reached a staff-level agreement with Cameroon for $74 million in financing, subject to the organization's executive board's approval. A team of scientists at Northwest China University of Agricultural and Forestry Sciences and Technology cloned 3 Holstein Friesian dairy super cows for the first time. A release from the university indicated that the cloning was accomplished by somatic cell nuclear transfer. Scientists collected tissues from donors, cultured them, and proceeded to clone the embryos, which were then transferred into the uterus of recipient cows. High-yielding, long-lived, and stress-resistant cows from different farms in the country were chosen for cloning. Beijing has prioritized self-sufficiency in key seeds and has increased investment in technologies related to the agricultural sector in an effort to bolster food security. This after some countries banned sales of Holstein Friesian cattle to the Asian giant. On Wednesday, streets and businesses in Myanmar were deserted as citizens carried out silent protests against the military junta on the second anniversary of its coup. Organizers of the silent strike asked residents not to leave their homes between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pictures posted on social media showed empty streets and businesses in Yangon, usually bustling with people and traffic, as well as deserted roads in other locations around the country. Meanwhile, protesters also gathered outside Myanmar embassies in different countries, such as Thailand, the Philippines, and South Korea, to voice their opposition to the ongoing military rule. In a statement, the country's parallel civilian government, made up of deposed parliamentarians and activists, said that the people of Myanmar will never renounce their right to freedom and peace. The military takeover plunged Myanmar into deep political, social, and economic crisis and has reopened a spiral of violence with new civilian militias. We've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also join us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Mados. Thank you for watching.